Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to another Season 7 League of Legends Champion Guide. Today, I'm going to be covering the recently reworked Evelynn, Agony's Embrace.
Your pain is my pleasure.
Alright, so let's hop right into this guide by looking at her pros and her cons. So Evelynn is a very high late game damage champion with really strong ganks post level 6. She's going to be very hard to keep track of because of her passive when she is level 6 and beyond, and she has a pretty decent clear speed as well since she does have some AoE damage. Evelynn also gets some really nice sustain from her passive ability, and she is an ability power jungler of course as well, so if you do have a full AD comp, Evelynn is a great pick. Now with all of this said, however, she does have a very mediocre early game. She has to be level 6 of course to get her camouflage ability, and obviously ultimate, which is her main way of executing enemies. This means until level 6 her ganks are very subpar. Now since she is an AP champion building damage, she's also very squishy and obviously weak against crowd control. That means that you have to pick your spots wisely. You do a lot of damage, but if you jump into a fight too early, you're just going to be nuked down in a crowd control and you're going to accomplish nothing. Wait until you see a good opportunity to flank the enemy team and then get off your damage. For your masteries, you want to go 18 Cunning and 12 Ferocity, grabbing Thunderlord's Decree as your keystone mastery. This is a really easy to proc keystone since Evelynn can use your Q multiple times, and it will of course add some nice extra damage into your burst combos. For the rest of your masteries, you pretty much just want to focus on increasing your damage as much as possible while in the Cunning and Ferocity trees. You could always go 12 Resolve instead if you wanted a little bit of increased tankiness and sustain, but usually it's best to go for full out damage on Evelynn. For your runes, you want to go for attack speed reds, armor yellows, magic resist blues, and ability power quints. The attack speed and ability power will add a little bit of increased damage, which will of course make your jungle clear just a little bit quicker and add some damage into your ganks as well. Then since you of course are taking a bunch of damage in the jungle from those jungle camps, you want to pick up the armor just so you're a little bit tankier, and of course you want to pick up the magic resist as well for any AP champions that you may run into. These are pretty much the runes I'll take every single game, and I don't really have any alternatives. For your summoner spells, you want to take Flash and Smite. Flash is a requirement because Evelynn is a very squishy champion and it can be used throughout the game to save your life over and over again. You can of course also use this offensively to close a gap on an enemy champion so you can use your full kit and delete them. Smite is then going to be a requirement since you'll be jungling. It helps you clear through the jungle and stay healthy at the same time. It's also great for securing objectives like Dragon and Baron and is required to buy your jungler item. Smite is 100% required, so make sure that you don't forget it. Your passive ability is Demon Shade, and this gives you some nice regeneration that also grants you camouflage after level 6. Evelynn gains Demon Shade after being out of combat for 4 seconds. While below between 250 and 590 based on level plus 250% AP health, Evelynn restores between 15 and 75 based on level health every second. From level 6 onward, Demon Shade also grants camouflage. So this is a pretty decent passive, but it does get a lot better when you are level 6 and beyond. Early on in the game, this will help you keep sustain throughout the jungle, but later on when you do get the camouflage, it makes you become a much better ganker. Of course, if you do get low in a team fight, you can always run away, regen a bunch of health, and then come back and rejoin the fight. This passive is part of the reason Evelynn's ganks are much better after she's level 6. Your Q ability is Hate Spike, and this is your main source of damage that's also AoE based, making it great in the jungle. On first cast, Evelynn flourishes her lashers, launching a dart in the target direction, dealing magic damage to the first enemy hit. Hitting a monster refunds 60% of the cooldown. For the next 4 seconds, the enemy hit takes bonus magic damage from her next 3 basic abilities or attacks. Hate Spike may be reactivated up to 3 times until the ability comes off cooldown at no cost. On second cast, Evelynn projects a line of spikes in the direction of her attack target, dealing magic damage to all enemies struck. Hate Spike will prioritize the nearest enemy if she does not have an attack target. So this here is your main source of damage because it is rather spammable and it does have a nice AP ratio. Of course, it is also AoE based, so you do want to max this one first just to clear through the jungle incredibly quickly. It also works great with a Lich Bane because you can space these out and use your Lich Bane auto attacks in between to do an insane amount of damage. Your W ability is Allure, and this will allow you to curse a target champion, which will allow you to do some extra damage, reduce magic resist, and charm the target. When activated, Evelynn curses the target champion or monster for 5 seconds. Evelynn's next basic attack or ability against the accursed expunges them, slowing them by 65% as well as refunding Allure's mana cost if she triggers this versus a monster or before 2.5 seconds. If the target is cursed for at least 2.5 seconds, she charms the target as well as applying additional effects based on the target type. This will be some magic resist reduction which scales from 25 to 35%. So this is a pretty solid ability, especially in ganks. Make sure you wait 2.5 seconds, however, before you do attack, so of course you get that charm, which will make it a lot more effective. Usually I'll max my E ability second, but this one is also viable to max second as well if you want your ganks to be just a little bit stronger. Your E ability is Whiplash, which does a nice chunk of damage based on maximum health and also gives you movement speed. When activated, Evelynn whips the target enemy with her lashers, applying on-hit effects, dealing magic damage, and gaining 30% bonus movement speed for 2 seconds. Gaining Demon Shade resets Whiplash's cooldown and empowers the next cast. So for that empowered active, Evelynn dashes towards the target enemy, dealing damage as well as damaging all enemies she passes through. On-hit effects are only applied to her target. So this is a fairly strong ability, and it is the one I usually max second because it does have a lot of damage on it, and of course it is maximum health as well, so it's great against tanky champions. Since of course this does also apply on-hit effects, it's also great with the Lich Bane yet again. You of course want to try to get the empowered active as much as you can, which comes from gaining Demon Shade, because the dash makes this ability even more effective since you can jump right onto your target. Your ultimate ability is Last Caress, and this is a really solid executing ability that also allows you to blink out of a fight. When activated, Evelynn becomes untargetable as she reveals her true form to all enemies in front of her before blinking back 400 units. Enemies caught in her reveal are devastated, taking magic damage, which is doubled versus enemies below 30% of their maximum health. So that last part here basically means this is a way to execute your enemies, and you should try to use it as much as possible below 30% health so you can finish them off. Since this ability does also blink you back 400 units, if you do get caught in a bad position, you can also use this ability to escape and then run away. Usually, however, you will be opening up with the rest of your kit, and when the enemy is low, use this ability to finish them off and jump away. For your skill order, you first want to put a point into your ultimate whenever you can at 6, 11, and 16. Then, since it's going to be your main source of damage, you'll want to max your Q ability first. Now next, you have either the option of maxing your W ability or your E ability second. Usually I'll go with my E ability because it is some really solid damage, but the W is a great option as well. If you're looking to make your ganks just a little bit more effective, then you may want to max your W ability second, but E will give you much more damage, and the sustained damage is really nice on it. The choice is up to you, but just make sure you max your Q ability first. For your main all-in combo, you first want to start by putting your W on the target, and after 2.5 seconds, use your Q ability. At this point, I like to hit the enemy with my E ability and then start spamming my Qs, and once the enemy is 30% or less, I like to use my ultimate to finish them off. For my jungle route, I usually like to do the following order, which is doing either blue or red buff depending on the side I'm starting on, then wolves, and then either the red or blue buff. I like to start at whatever side my bot lane is on, so I know I'm going to get a solid leash. This will get you level 3 really quickly, and you can start ganking with those double buffs. Keep in mind, however, that Evelynn's ganks aren't the best until you're level 6, so you have the option of going for a full clear as well. If you feel like the enemy's lanes aren't that gankable, then you may want to rush level 6 so you have those stronger ganks, and then you can start trying to get some kills. Ganking on Evelynn isn't too effective pre-level 6, but once you get your level 6, they get a lot better. You want to start by camouflaging into the lane, and then use your allure on the target you want to delete. Try to make sure there's at least 2.5 seconds before you attack the target so you charm them. You'll then want to open up on the enemy with your hate spike, and then get on top of the enemy with your whiplash. This will of course also give you that extra movement speed to stick onto the target that you're trying to delete. Afterwards, you want to use the extra uses of your hate spike, and when the enemy is below 30%, execute them with Last Caress. Evelynn has some pretty solid damage, but she's not the best teamfighter out there. When trying to teamfight on Evelynn, you'll need to try to flank the enemy and delete one of their squishy backline champions. Use the camouflage from your passive Demon Shade to stay out of vision, and when you see your opportunity to strike, mark a target with a lure and then go for the kill. If you do get caught in a bad position, keep in mind that you can always use your Last Caress as a way of jumping out of a fight so you can re-engage. You're not a champion that can usually fight on the front line unless you are really fed, but you do make a great flanker. Now let's look at some of your hard matchups, and first up is Jax. Jax is a champion that can easily 1v1 you, so you want to try to avoid him as much as possible, stay out of vision, and gank lanes that he's not near. If you are stuck in a 1v1 with him, try your best to use the movement speed from your E ability to dodge his counter strike, and then you'll be able to beat him 1v1. Also, if he does activate his ultimate, try your best not to fight him, he will usually win. For the next hard matchup, we've got Hwanhee. She's going to be a hard matchup for you because you're basically never going to be able to kill her because she is one of the tankiest champions in all of League of Legends. Because of her passive, even if you use your W ability and then attack her, she's going to take pretty much no damage, so this is a combo that doesn't work too great on her. She's not the most mobile champion out there, however, so try to keep track of her and gank lanes that she's not near. For the next hard matchup, I've got Warwick. Now Warwick's going to be a very hard champion for you to duel because he is pretty tanky, has a ton of sustain, and still does a pretty decent amount of damage. Therefore, unless you are really far ahead, you won't want to 1v1 a Warwick, you'll just want to gank lanes that he's not nearby because he does have some pretty decent mobility if people are low near him. And for the last hard matchup here, I've got Wukong. Wukong's going to be a fairly hard matchup because he does have a lot of damage when he goes for a lethality build, and he can always 1v1 you. He's also a much better team fighter, so you don't want to try to team fight too much against him, you want to try to roam around and find picks with your camouflage. His mobility is only decent, so try to remain unseen and gank lanes that he's not nearby. Alright, now let's finish this off with our item build, which starts with a Hunter's Talisman and a refillable potion. Since Evelynn does have a lot of AoE damage from her Q ability, it's much better to go for the Talisman than it is to go for the Machete. For the core build, we have the Stalker's Blade enchanted with Runic Echoes, a Hextech Proto Belt, and a Lichbane. You can of course replace the Stalker's Blade with a Skirmisher Saber if you're against a lot of tanks, but usually you'll want to go for the Stalkers. These three items combined will make you an incredibly bursty champion, and if you pull off your full combo, targets will die instantly. Make sure you're auto-attacking in between your Qs, or you do use your E ability to make sure that you use the Lichbane proc. For your boot options, you have either the Boots of Mobility or Sork Shoes. Usually I'll go for the Boots of Mobility because I spend a lot of time roaming and ganking, but the Sork Shoes are great if you do want a little bit more penetration. For the item pool, we first have the Liandry's. This is a great way to give yourself a bit more of a health pool and increase your damage at the same time. It's also fantastic against those tanky champions since it does apply a burn. Next, you can also increase your tankiness with either the Banshee's Veil or the Zhonya's. Both are fantastic options, and if you are looking to get a bit of magic resist, you can go for the Banshees, but if you want armor and stasis, go for the Zhonya's. Both also give you a bunch of ability power and 10% cooldown reduction, so both are fantastic options. If you're instead looking for a bunch of damage, you can get the Void Staff because it does give you a bunch of magic penetration, which is great in the later stages of the game when you need to get through any of the enemy's magic resist. Of course then, if you want all-out ability power, then of course you can get the Rabadon's Death Cap. If you need as much damage as possible and you feel like you have to hard carry the game, then it is a viable item. If you're instead looking for a bit more of a health pool and of course a slow, you could always get the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. It's not something I pick up too often on the new Evelynn because you do have movement speed from your E ability, but if you feel like you need a slow as well, Rylai's got you covered. Then if you were snowballing in the game and you wanted to get a Dark Seal and turn it into a Magi's, that's also very viable. Keep in mind however that whenever you die you lose a bunch of stacks, so it's not the best item out there, but it's great if you're snowballing. For my example full build however, I take my core build, then choose my boots, and then pick up the Liandry's and a Banshee's Veil. This will make you a very bursty champion, and you will have a decent health pool as well from the Banshees and the Liandry's, so you're not going to die instantly. And that's all I've got for Jungle Evelynn. If you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure you like and subscribe, and also check out the video description below. I have a link to all my social medias, and I also have things like a Discord server, so there's some you should definitely check out. But other than that, thank you guys so much for checking out the video, I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, have a good day, and peace.